Sick.
Palm Springs attracts the most tourists of any city in the Coachella Valley, yet they say their numbers related to coronavirus cases are increasing at a slower rate than neighboring cities.
We need more information than we have in order to make the smartest policy choices and the smartest use of our education and enforcement resources.
And the meeting is still underway and currently being streamed on YouTube. The mayor also shares with me that they will be asking Dr. Kaiser to give recommendations on leisure travel and personal care services, as House officials have stated that some of the main causes of transmissions are due to private gatherings and indoor dining and retail. Reporting in Palm Springs, I'm Nico Payne. I'll send it back to you guys in studio.
All right, thank you, Nico. Cathedral City leaders vote to declare a fiscal emergency amid the pandemic. To address budget shortfalls, the council previously approved budget reductions of approximately $8.3 million for fiscal 2020-2021. The council also agreed to draw down almost $6 million in reserves to try to balance their budget.
Relief is on the way for farm workers in need. The United Field Workers Foundation launched the Essential Farm Worker Project to help more than 21,000 undocumented agricultural workers.
So this program will provide a prepaid card with $500 to farm workers who are undocumented. At the federal level, undocumented people have been excluded from the CARES Act that passed months ago. These people have continued showing up to work on a daily basis.
Agricultural workers over the age of 18, undocumented, and in California, Washington, or Oregon are eligible. Applications are only accepted over the phone. The number to call is listed on the bottom of your screen.
More than 1/3 of people in Riverside County have underlying medical conditions that could put them at risk for severe COVID illness. This according to a new report from the CDC. Researchers looked at the census data and self-reported health information. They found 38% had at least one of 5 underlying conditions that could put them at risk. That includes COPD, heart disease, chronic kidney disease, diabetes, and obesity.
As the back-to-school debate rages on, there's another question on parents' minds, and that's, is it safe for my child to resume playing sports again? The American Academy of Pediatrics just released some interim guidance to help families weigh the benefits, risks of their child's sports activities. Experts recommend parents talk to their child's pediatrician about the type of sport and local case numbers. Athletes should wear a cloth face covering during non-vigorous exercise. Teams should minimize travel and stay outside and socially distance as much as possible.
Coronavirus coverage brought to you by East Valley COVID-19 testing site, serving residents of eastern Coachella Valley.
All right, taking a live look outside now, courtesy of our Agua Caliente Casino cam. Let's check in with NBC Palm Springs Chief Meteorologist Mike Everett, standing by with your AccuWeather forecast. Mike.
Gino, perfect segue. If you are planning on getting out and doing anything sporty tonight, it's going to be a spectacular evening for that. We are tracking a very unusual day as far as late July in the California desert goes. A pair of low pressure systems are keeping that flow onshore. We've been talking about that all week long, but today you could really feel it, especially if you were up and out early. We had temperatures that were in the low 70s here. We tracked some 30s up towards Big Bear today. We'll talk more about the numbers coming up in the full forecast. All you need to know is this is another low pressure system off of the Pacific Northwest will continue to keep that flow onshore through the weekend and keep us regulated as well. We've got some changes coming next week, so take advantage of that. Meanwhile, we still have some monsoonal flow rearing its ugly head off towards our east. In fact, the Four Corners region, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, and Utah will continue to see some afternoon storms there, and it's just a mess across the southeast. I've got some hurricane and some tropical development updates to give you during the full forecast. Almanac today. 3 degrees, delightfully below average today. 108 is the 30-year norm for this time of year. 2 years ago, we were 119 degrees, so we got something to be grateful for there. But the big story is those overnights. We started at 72 this morning. That is a full 6 degrees below average. Nowhere near the record of 59 back in 1957, but still, we'll take what we can get. Neighborhood weather right now is showing temperatures delightfully in that 104 range. Light breeze coming out of the north-northwest, not particularly gusty tonight. In fact, we were gusty this morning. It looks like we got all that out of the way, and humidity sitting at 13%. So how much longer will it last? Well, we'll tell you about that in a moment. Current winds sitting at about 12 to 15 miles an hour, sustained again around the northern edge of the valley. We'll see those winds get up to about 20-25 tonight. Next 3 days brought to you by Comfort Air. Below average on Friday, right on the money on Saturday, and still temperate on Sunday. I'll tell you how much longer this lasts coming up.
The lawsuit against the former Cathedral City Police Chief, Travis Walker, has been dismissed. A judge dismissed the sexual harassment lawsuit after the two parties reached a resolution outside court. The Riverside County District Attorney investigated and did not file criminal charges.
A judge rules the man who allegedly attacked a 7-year-old boy in Desert Hot Springs must undergo a psychological evaluation to determine if he's mentally competent to stand trial. Since 2007, Daniel Polson has been charged on 15 separate occasions. Court records show that he was found mentally incompetent to stand trial at least 11 times. The young boy, Gavin, was airlifted to Loma Linda and had been unconscious for several days. But according to his GoFundMe account, it appears that Gavin is now sitting up by himself and opening one of his eyes.
After arresting a second suspect in the July 14th fatal shooting, it appears the Desert Hot Springs Police Department isn't done with arrests. A police press release says the investigation is ongoing and further leads on potential other parties involved are still being investigated. There's still no word yet, though, on a motive.
Eastern Coachella Valley had a string of suspicious deaths over the past 2 weeks. Local police departments say an increase over the summertime is normal, but is the pandemic to blame for this recent uptick? Our Olivia Sandusky joins us in studio with more on that. Olivia.
Gino, homicide numbers are on the rise in the Eastern Coachella Valley this year. And while some of those did take place before the pandemic began, local police departments are now urging people to stay vigilant during this time.
Several death investigations have taken place in the Coachella Valley over the last few weeks, including homicides, suspicious deaths, and a drowning. And the Indio Police Department says their current homicide numbers are already above 2019's total.
Things have changed. It's not our normal summer. You know, there's a pandemic going on. There's a lot of concern. The quality of life has changed, and it's been more of be careful.
Many of the investigations are ongoing, but the activity isn't unique to the Coachella Valley. A study by the New York Times found that while overall crime is down in 25 of America's largest cities, murder rates are up 16% compared to last year.
Sometimes it could be related to, gang activity or other kinds of things or drug markets as they shift and change, as well as cultural and social events related to the protest and racial injustice and things like that. So there's various explanations, and the context does matter.
Local departments also say domestic violence is on the rise as families deal with the hardships of the pandemic.
People are enclosed inside and have fewer opportunities to leave the house. And it might be harder to access support services as well, that this could be playing some factor in explaining the uptick in homicide.
Despite the recent string of Eastern Coachella Valley deaths, areas like Desert Hot Springs and Indio have seen a decrease in several types of crimes. But police say residents shouldn't let their guard down.
People being more at home should be more vigilant in general. Their surroundings. If they see something that's not right, they should report it to the authorities.
The Riverside County Sheriff's Department is actively working on these recent cases across the Coachella Valley. They do tell us, though, they don't believe there is a present threat to the public. Olivia Sandusky, NBC Palm Springs.
All right, thank you, Olivia. When we come back, federal forces are on the ground in several American cities tonight. We'll have the latest from Portland, Chicago, and Kansas City. Plus, first it was Charlotte, and then it was Jacksonville, and then another city that was not announced to host a national Republican convention. And now it's back in Charlotte. So what's next? We'll find out.
And how effective is your face mask if you leave your nose exposed? After the break, a doctor will detail just how important it is to keep your nose covered. And it's a strange feeling, but it's opening day for Major League Baseball in July. We'll take it. We'll bring you the latest from today's doubleheader.
President Trump announces there will not be a Republican National Convention in Jacksonville, Florida. He said the events in Charlotte, North Carolina will still be held and that he'll make an acceptance speech, but just in a different way.
The White House is conducting contact tracing after a cafeteria worker tests positive for coronavirus. The cafeteria in the Executive Office Building was closed this week after the case was discovered. The Executive Office Building sits just across from the West Wing.
A Marine in the unit responsible for transporting the president has also tested positive. The Marine was assigned to the helicopter Squadron 1. Officials say the Marine was never in direct contact with the president's helicopter or the president himself.
President Trump is sending hundreds of federal agents to Chicago and other cities to try to stop what he calls a surge in violence. But critics say this is just a part of the president's re-election strategy, and some Democratic mayors are calling it a distraction. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez has the latest.
After this drive-by shooting outside a funeral left 15 people wounded, Chicago's mayor is cautiously accepting federal help to stop the violence, but says it better not look anything like what's been happening in Portland.
We are not going to hesitate to take the president to court and stop any unconstitutional actions.
In Chicago, there have been at least 116 murders in just the last month, a nearly 200% jump over the same period last year.
This bloodshed must end. This bloodshed will end.
Now, President Trump is sending hundreds of federal agents to Chicago and Albuquerque.
These are street agents. They're investigators who will be working to solve murders and to take down the violent gangs.
It's an expansion of Operation Legend, already taking place in Kansas City, named after 4-year-old shooting victim Legend Taliaferro, whose family visited the White House Wednesday.
This operation is personal to us. We want justice for our son and others.
The administration says these extra agents will be different than the tactical teams recently sent to Portland to protect federal property.
All right, I'm just going to talk.
Overnight, Portland's mayor, who has demanded those federal forces leave the city, was tear gassed when he joined protesters on the front lines, local police declaring it a riot. Opposition to the deployment in Portland extending to other Democratic mayors who President Trump slammed on Wednesday.
You have radical left Democrats running cities like Chicago and so many others.
Mayor Lori Lightfoot hitting back.
The president is trying to divert attention from his failed leadership on COVID-19. He has failed. He has failed. He has failed.
In Kansas City, where murders are up 40% from the previous year, the police department asked for some federal help investigating crimes and tracking illegal guns.
What we don't need is what you're seeing on the streets of Portland and federal troops that are taking over core functions of law enforcement in American cities.
Gutierrez reporting. Meanwhile, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez uses profanity on the floor of the House of Representatives, repeating vulgarity she says was directed at her by a Republican colleague.
I walked back out, and there were reporters in the front of the Capitol. And in front of reporters, Representative Yoho called me, and I quote, "bitch."
Representative Yoho apologized for what he called a, quote, abrupt manner in his conversation with Ocasio-Cortez, but denies using profanity.
We're learning more this morning about last week's massive Twitter hack. Twitter now says that in addition to 130 accounts being compromised, hackers also accessed 36 direct messaging inboxes. The FBI is still investigating the hack. When we come back, Mike has a look at our forecast. Mike.
Somehow we've managed to hack the temperatures as well. We came in well below average today. It looks like we're going to carry that trend into the weekend. We're going to talk about that and trouble in the tropics when we come back. Welcome back. Well, in case I haven't mentioned it already, I was a huge fan of today. Temperatures came in well below average, courtesy of a pair of lows that have been keeping that flow on shore. As we take a look at our Walter Clark cam right now, seeing it's breezy, not particularly gusty out there. And once again, that moisture haze kind of hanging around the north and northwestern edge of the valley. Marine layer was thick again. Started off about 2,500 feet near the coast, pushed its way into the inland valleys, and now it's just kind of stuck in the Banning Pass. We'll take a look at that in a moment. This is today's big story, though. 3 degrees below average by day, and we started in the low 70s. It was spectacular this morning. Anybody who was an early riser must have noticed that right when you walked out. Like, wow, it doesn't feel like July in the desert here. 78 is the 30-year average for today's date, so we came in 6 degrees below that. Didn't quite hit record territory. 59 is the magic number for today's date. And think about this. 2 years ago, we were 119. So, yeah, to be 14 degrees lower than that is some pretty good stuff. Here's what we're looking at in the big picture. I got infrared turned on to show you a couple things here. Again, it's onshore flow. You can't really see it because there's no moisture associated with it, unless, of course, you're looking up towards British Columbia there. But as long as it keeps coming from west to east, it continues to keep temperatures regulated here. It will keep that marine layer cloud cover thick along the coast, and it keeps all that monsoonal mess way off towards the east. Not all puppies and rainbows for everybody, though. We are tracking trouble in the tropics. In fact, there's a few things going on. I'll tell you more about Douglas off in the Pacific in a moment, but the new development is Tropical Depression number 8 forming in the Gulf of Mexico. If there's any good news associated with it, it won't get much of an opportunity to develop. It's sitting in some pretty warm water. It's about 80, 85 degrees in the Gulf this time of year, but it looks like it's going to make landfall fairly quickly. So it'll bring some wind and some rain into parts of Texas and possibly into mainland Mexico. Gonzalo is a tropical storm. Forecast models had it strengthening to a category 1. It looks like the latest model runs have it just staying at tropical storm status and thankfully well away from Puerto Rico. The big X factor here, though, is once it passes Puerto Rico and makes that turn towards Jamaica and the Cayman Islands, it hits more warm water and could potentially be making an American landfall over the next 7 days. We're going to watch that one really closely. This is Douglas. This is the first hurricane of the Eastern Pacific system, or of the season. Category 3, right? That's a pretty powerful storm. 127 mile an hour sustained winds, gusts up to 155, moving fairly quickly. That's good news. You do not want these things to linger. So as it moves closer to the Hawaiian Islands, by the time we get to Sunday, it backs off to a category 1. Nice. And then as we get towards Tuesday there and closer to the islands, it'll become a tropical storm once again. Sustained winds in the 50s, gusts in the 60s. It'll bring some wind and rain to the islands, but it doesn't look like it's going to make landfall as a hurricane. Of course, we'll be watching that for you as well. Looking for some 70s and 80s in the northeast tomorrow. 88 in Miami. It just won't stop raining there. 100 in Phoenix tomorrow. Wow. And some 60s and 70s up and down the east coast. Very temperate for this time of year. For the 100th time, I will tell you about patchy fog that you will encounter. Highway 60, Interstate 10, and 215 are going to be a mess again tomorrow morning, and it's cool along the coast. 72 in LA, 103 here, 105 in Havasu. It's 103 in Vegas as well. 100's your number in Thousand Palms right now, 87 in the Yucca Valley, 72 in Big Bear after starting in the mid-30s this morning. We cool very efficiently tonight, and we're going to be tracking another gorgeous day tomorrow. 107 is where we'll top out in Palm Springs and in Indio. Look for 98 in Joshua Tree and 76 in Big Bear. Your Comfort Air 7-day forecast shows slow warming going into the weekend, but still very temperate for this time of year. Warmer next week, and those overnights return to the 80s.
A new report finds a majority of parents say COVID-19 has affected their spending. The survey from Wallet Hub shows 71% say they've changed their attitude toward back-to-school shopping. Only 1 in 5 people say they're spending more this year than last. Parents of college students say their number one concern for their kids is the job market, followed by debt.
Open Table is teaming up with colleges to help them manage dining areas as campuses reopen. Students can make on-campus reservations through Open Table app and see descriptions of menus or safety measures. Students will then be notified by text when the table is available. Open Table says the technology is free for universities.
More than half of Americans say they don't plan on renewing their gym memberships once the pandemic is over, according to TD Ameritrade. The top reason? Well, people say they actually found more affordable ways to get exercise. Experts say the shift is likely due to an increase of low-cost fitness apps. But a separate survey conducted by Crunch Fitness found 47% of people were dissatisfied with their at-home workouts.
No mask, no fly. Southwest and American Airlines now say there will be a no more mask exemption for any passenger over 2 years of age. Even those with medical conditions will have to wear the mask. The airlines say travelers should wear a mask from the moment they enter the airport until they exit the terminal on the other end. Southwest's new policy goes into effect Monday, July 27th, and American 2 days later on Wednesday.
Coming up after the break, we're going to revisit tonight's top stories, from the recent rash of crime in our East Valley to Riverside County's rising case counts of coronavirus and the death toll.
And how effective is your face mask if you leave your nose sticking out? Here's a hint. Not good. After the break, a doctor will detail why it's important to cover your nose under the mask. And it's a strange feeling. Believe it or not, it's opening day for Major League Baseball. It's in July, but we'll take it. We've got a doubleheader. We're going to show you Dr. Fauci throw out the first pitch, and let's say that too did not go well when we come back. Several violent crime investigations are underway in the Coachella Valley. The latest includes a homicide and a suspicious death in Thermal. Around the country, overall crime numbers are down, but murder rates are up 16% from last year. And that can also be seen in India, where their homicide numbers are already above 2019's totals.
Things have changed. It's not our normal summer. You know, there's a pandemic going on. There's a lot of concern. The quality of life has changed, and it's been more of be careful.
Riverside County Sheriff's Department says these incidents don't present a threat to the public, but that they are under investigation.
With Operation Warp Speed, the government is investing $10 billion to develop and distribute millions of doses of a coronavirus vaccine by January. But the debate of who gets the vaccine first is already heating up. Congressman Raul Ruiz says he met with pharmaceutical companies to make sure frontline workers and the most vulnerable are first in line.
I told them that we need a public health approach to the distribution of vaccine that's fair, that's effective, and that prioritizes the people that need them the most, regardless of their economic status or title or status in society, because what matters here is that we save lives and we beat this virus.
Advisory groups have been set up to help with the decision of who goes first and what factors should be considered.
Happening right now, Palm Springs city leaders are considering another round of COVID closures to combat the rising cases and deaths in the city. Gyms and hair salons were recently shut down again under Governor Newsom's newest orders. The city invited County Health Officer Dr. Cameron Kaiser to weigh in tonight.
There are a lot of people who are saying we should close more businesses down. There are others saying that more should be open, even though we can't open more than the state allows us to. We need more information than we have in order to make the smartest policy choices and the smartest use of our education and enforcement resources.
Riverside County Health Officer Dr. Cameron Kaiser will call into the Zoom meeting to provide his professional opinion on whether or not the city of Palm Springs should shut down again.
We're taking a live look now from our Agua Caliente Casino cam in Rancho Mirage. Mike and I have been talking before the show about how nice it was this morning. It was nice, pleasant temperatures, and I'm asking a repeat tomorrow, Mike, possibly.
Not going to be as impressive as today was. Today was really just something spectacular. Early risers across the Coachella Valley were greeted to low 70s. And the thing that really blew my mind this morning were temperatures up towards Big Bear that started in the mid 30s. If you can wrap your head around that. May I remind you that we are in the second half of July and we live in Southern California in a desert. We will be tracking some warmer weather as we go towards next week and possibly some of that monsoonal flow heading in our direction. But let's enjoy what we have for now. We have onshore flow. It's doing a couple things for us. It's keeping those temperatures regulated. I'll show you the numbers in a moment here. But what it's also doing is creating a very thick marine layer. It was about 2,500 feet this morning. Looks like that's going to be an issue again tomorrow morning. It's pushing some of that fog and cloud cover inland. The Inland Empire and that 215 corridor near Paris and Menifee has been very thick in the early morning hours. We'll take a deeper dive on that in a moment. Future winds, well, it doesn't look like that's going to be an issue tonight either. You put that into motion, you'll see those gusts getting up to about 25, 30 miles an hour. Again, normal for this time of year. And then the later it gets, the calmer it becomes. We'll be back in single digits again tomorrow morning. Neighborhood weather is showing us currently at 103. We were well below average today. I've told you that several times already, but I'm still going to say it a few more. 14 mile an hour sustained winds at the airport and 14% humidity. Very magic number. Next 3 days brought to you by Comfort Air shows more pleasant conditions on Friday morning, but some slow warming as we go into the weekend and then a bit warmer next week. I'll give you the details and your full forecast in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Mike. What is the correct way to wear a mask? You have no doubt seen plenty of people in public with their mask pulled down so it only covers their mouth, leaving their nose completely exposed. Dr. Frank McGeorge shares some new research suggesting this defeats the point of wearing a mask even more than you might think.
Most people usually breathe through their noses, and for good reason. We smell through our noses. Our noses warm and humidify the air we breathe, and they help filter out debris and microorganisms in the air. Breathing out through the nose is also healthier. It naturally improves lung and circulatory function. It also gives your body a chance to reclaim some of the warmth and humidity that you would otherwise just exhale into the environment. Unfortunately, just like the nose is better for breathing, the nose also appears to be better at spreading COVID-19. A study published in the journal Cell mapped locations in the respiratory tract where the COVID-19 virus most quickly invades, multiplies, and spreads from. They found the cells that line the nose were significantly more likely to become infected and shed virus compared to the throat or lungs. That means every time a person exhales through their nose, they're likely generating a higher concentration of infectious aerosol than if they were simply breathing from their mouth. It also means in order to block that infectious cloud from escaping to infect other people, it's just as important to cover your nose with a mask.
Still to come, the newest NHL franchise in Seattle reveals their name. Baseball is back in D.C., and that's right, at Chavez Ravine. And in the special edition of NBC Cares Silver Linings, we're going to take you up Highway 74 to Sugarloaf Cafe to introduce you to a resilient business owner determined to not let the pandemic end her business. Plus, Manny the Movie Guy.
3 new films to stream on demand. I'm Manny the Movie Guy, Radioactive, Yes God Yes, and The Rental, coming up.
All right, time for a check of your NBC Palm Springs sports headlines. Well, if it feels like we've been here before, it's because we have. In 1 year, Tokyo Olympics, Mike Tirica sets the scene for what could be a historic summer games. I'll tell you about that in a minute, but first, the new NHL team in Seattle has a name and logo. After looking at more than 120 possible names, officials decided to call the NHL's 32nd franchise the Kraken. Yes, the Seattle Kraken. Franchise was awarded to Seattle more than 18 months ago. They'll begin playing in the fall in 2021.
You, the fans, gave life to this franchise. 32,000 depositors creating the 32nd franchise. 10,000 deposits in the first 10 minutes. And now, 40,000 people on the waiting list.
Still no word on Seattle's minor league or AHL team. Remember, it was supposed to be housed here in Palm Springs as part of the expansion, but that arena building has completely halted. The creative minds in charge of coming up with a new name for the former Washington Redskins apparently can't come up with one. So the team announced today that they'll be called simply the Washington Football Team. So it's already a step in the right direction. They're going to work on a new name and a logo. They'll keep the same color scheme for the uniforms, but the helmet logos will be replaced with players' numbers in gold. The Washington Football Team is set to open their season against Philadelphia Eagles on September 13th. And it's time for Dodger baseball. Major League Baseball and the Washington Nationals brought out its heavy hitters throughout the first pitch tonight. That's right, Dr. Anthony Fauci was throwing out the first pitch of tonight's game. Of course, he's the leading authority on infectious diseases and clearly did not spend a lot of time on the sandlot. Throwing out the first pitch ahead of the Yankees-Nationals opener tonight. It was, well, in the words, just a bit outside. Just because fans can't be in attendance does not mean Dodger Stadium will be empty. About 4,500 cardboard cutouts will be filling the stands at Chavez Ravine. And while the cutouts are ready, the Dodgers' top arm isn't. They placed starting pitcher Clayton Kershaw on the injured list with back stiffness. Kershaw was supposed to be on the mound tonight against arch rival San Francisco Giants. Instead, they pulled up Dustin May, right-hander, who for reasons beyond explanation wasn't on the 60-man or 30-man roster. So they brought up Dustin May, pretty darn fine pitcher. First pitch is at 7:08 tonight. It's going to do it for sports. I'm ready for some baseball. We'll be back right after this. Mike, you ready for some baseball?
I am indeed, and I'm pretty sure I saw your face at least 3 times in those cardboard cutouts. Well played. You're a big fan. Agua Caliente Casino Cam showing an absolutely gorgeous evening. Breezy, not gusty, and those temperatures staying below average. I'll tell you whether it lasts into the weekend when we come back. Welcome back. Another gorgeous live look of the Coachella Valley in all its charm. This is your Walter Clark Cam 111. Traffic moving beautifully. A gorgeous sunset setting up tonight and a wonderful evening to get out and do literally anything you want to do. It's not excessively hot out there because it wasn't excessively hot today. 105 is where we topped out. 3 degrees below average. Nowhere near the record. 2 years ago, we were 119 and this morning we were 72. Nowhere near the record there either, but 6 degrees below average. We will most definitely take that. It all has to do with onshore flow, unseasonable for this time of year. Normally we have a massive ridge of high pressure out in the Pacific. That is not there right now. It allows all of that cool air, especially that stuff coming in from the northwest, to continue to move in. Now the price tag that is attached to that is a very thick marine layer. It's about 2,500 feet this morning, 3,000 down towards San Diego, and all of that pushed into the inland valleys. You will see that again tomorrow morning. It looks like as we go towards the weekend, that will start to back off a little bit. Current temperatures right now, all the way across the region, are very pleasant. 103 is a very popular number from Vegas through Havasu and to Palm Springs International. And along the coast, a little bit on the cool side. 72 in Los Angeles right now, 71 in San Diego, 66 in Santa Barbara, and 92 in Bakersfield. Locally, we're doing all right as well. Look at that, 86 already in the Yucca Valley. Overnight temperatures will be in the 60s tomorrow. 103 in Coachella, 96 in 29 Palms, 70 in Big Bear after starting off in the mid-30s this morning, and it's 78 in Idlewild. Nice. 6. We will continue to cool very efficiently tonight. We'll get ourselves back into the 70s again tomorrow morning, starting in the low to mid 70s. We will see ourselves delightfully below average once again. A little bit more humidity. Well, not too bad though. We're talking about 10%. We can handle that. 107 in Palm Springs and in Indio, 106 in Thousand Palms, upper 90s if you want to head out to Joshua Tree, 76 in Big Bear, and your Comfort Air 7-day forecast shows a slight warming as we going into the weekend, and it gets warmer again next week. But again, no big deal. Overnights will be in the low 80s though.
3 new films available on demand. Manny the Movie Guy tells us which one we should stream. We've got Radioactive, Yes God Yes, or The Rental.
Hello, movie buffs! 3 good films to stream. First, if you love biopics, check out Amazon's Radioactive. It's about the life of Marie Curie, the Polish immigrant who moved to France and changed the world by discovering radium and polonium. Gone Girl Oscar nominee Rosamund Pike is our fearless scientist and creates perfect chemistry with Sam Riley as the husband, Pierre Curie.
Be so in love with someone and change the world with them. The atom.
Part romance and a full-on homage to the great Marie Curie, director Marjan Satrapi creates a visually expressive world that is at once illuminating and disheartening. And it's a matter of scientific interest that I enjoyed Radioactive.
And I will win it.
And for that, Radioactive gets 3 out of 4 glowing green kisses. And on demand, check out Yes God Yes, a fun and entertaining coming-of-age story with Natalia Dyer from Stranger Things. She's Alice, a Catholic schoolgirl who suddenly discovers her carnal desires.
That's fine.
This is exciting. This is different. This is real.
She's exactly right. Writer-director Karen Main improves upon her short film to give us an honest look at the deliciously evil ways of repressing your own emotions. Remember, God is always watching. And for that, Yes God Yes gets 3.5 out of 4. Watch this now, kisses. And if you like scary movies, how about The Rental? Also on demand.
And I just knew exactly how I wanted to film it. And so that just gave me the confidence to finally take that leap.
Dave Franco takes the leap to write and direct his first full feature film in the scary good The Rental. It is about a rental home from hell, but look closely and you'll see. It's a scary and entertaining look at the disintegration of marriage, and I love it.
I like that take on it. That's a really nice take on it, yeah.
Carly! By putting the characters first with an excellent cast headed by Dan Stevens and Franco's wife, Alison Brie, The Rental breathes new life to the slasher genre.
Everything you're incorporating right now is making me smile.
And for that, The Rental gets 3 out of 4. Rent this now, kisses. I'm Manny the Movie Guy. Have fun streaming!
It started out in the 1930s as a little diner on the side of the road off of Highway 74, serving the community and those needing a little refreshment while traveling over the mountain. Gabby Rose took the Sugarloaf Cafe over about a year and a half ago to create an oasis of locally sourced, delicious, and wholesome food. But then the Valentine's Day flood happened, and now the pandemic.
Rob, your dream has come true. Your food is ready.
Those two devastating events might have squashed most business owners' dreams, but not the upbeat and positive Gabby. She's determined to help her community and develop the 17-acre property as a respite for all. It's become her silver lining.
Gabby, what I love about Sugarloaf Cafe is not only your food is just amazing and fabulous, but you are so conscientious with all of the CDC guidelines. I really felt like it was totally responsible and very safe, and I liked that experience.
I'm so glad. It was one of my primary concerns is, will people feel safe when they're here? And also, will they feel comfortable when they're here? And will it feel like a robotic experience, or will it feel somewhat normal?
So are you finding that you're getting new customers all the time?
Yeah, we were located in the middle of nowhere. As you know, Pinyon Pines is like 20 to 30 minutes away from Palm Desert. Unless you take that drive up 74 into Temecula or up to Idlewild, where it's a little cooler at this time of the year, you may not know that the Sugarloaf Cafe is even there. It's been making food for the community by housing and feeding the workers that actually built the highway back in the 30s and 40s. We make American comfort food. We don't make fancy food. We make really delicious food, though, and it's only because I can rely upon my staff. Our baker is incredible. Our pitmaster is incredible. This is a small team. For our working class, if you want to stop by and grab your lunch on your way to work, we got you. We'll put a nice healthy sandwich, bag of chips inside a brown bag, get you on your way, and grab a soda on your way out for under $6, We value the American worker because we are the American workers who are coming to work in the face of this pandemic to get you food. In the beginning, I really questioned whether or not I was an essential business. I'd make barbecue and pie. Is that really essential for human life? And what I learned is that the type of comfort that we provide people who don't know how to cook, who can't go to the grocery stores, and how, the amount of love that we put into going over and above to make sure that people feel comfortable and safe to eat and come here is different because we are part of this community.
A short drive away, and yet it feels like it's worlds away, especially now. For NBC Cares Silver Lining, I'm Sandy Newton.
brighter side of the news is brought to you by Holland RV, located off the I-10 at Washington.
Ever wondered what to do with all those old delivery boxes? Well, Amazon has an answer for you. They're publishing ideas to reuse the cardboard, like creating an elaborate cat condo, a cardboard fort, and a mini golf windmill. There you go.
All right, that's going to do it for us. If you missed anything, scan the QR code. See you at 11.